Some decisions in life don't come with applause. No one celebrates them. No one even notices. They feel small, almost unimportant. But sometimes, those quiet decisions are the ones that change everything. This story is not about instant success or dramatic transformation. It's about an ordinary person, a familiar fear, and one simple yes dot spoken in a moment of hesitation. If you feel stuck, tired, or unsure of yourself, stay with me. This story might be for you.
When I look back now, there is one decision that quietly changed my life. It didn't happen in a dramatic moment. There was no applause, no celebration, no one cheering. At the time, it felt small, almost unimportant. But today, I know it was the beginning of everything. My name is Julia, and this is the story of the best decision I have ever made. When I was younger, my world was very small. Not because I wanted it to be, but because I felt comfortable staying inside it. After school, I went straight home. I stayed in my room. I watched videos. I played games on my phone. Hours passed quietly. Days felt the same. I rarely went outside. I told myself I didn't need to. Inside felt safe. Outside felt tiring. At school, I did what was required. I attended classes. I completed my homework. I listened to my teachers. But I never felt truly engaged. My body was present, but my energy was not. Most days I felt tired even when I hadn't done much. I often felt unmotivated, not sad, just empty. At that time, I didn't understand why I felt that way. I thought it was normal. I thought this was just how life felt as you grew older. My friends seemed different. They talked about sports, about clubs, about activities after school. I listened, but I didn't join the conversation. I told myself that kind of life was not for me. I wasn't athletic. I wasn't energetic. I wasn't confident. Those words became labels I used to define myself, and once you believe a label, you stop questioning it. I believed I was someone who preferred staying indoors, someone who avoided effort, someone who watched life instead of participating in it. One afternoon, everything began to shift. It was an ordinary day, nothing special. Classes ended. Students filled the hallway. Lockers slammed shut. I was walking toward the exit when my friend Lily called my name. She looked excited, almost too excited. "Julia," she said, "do you want to join the school running club?" The question caught me off guard. Running? The idea alone made me uncomfortable. I didn't like running. Actually, I didn't like any kind of sport. I had tried before. I remembered heavy legs, burning lungs, feeling slow compared to everyone else. My first instinct was to say no. The word was already forming in my mind, but before I spoke, I saw Lily's face. She was smiling, hopeful. She wasn't asking casually. She genuinely wanted me to join her. I hesitated. In that brief moment, two thoughts fought inside me. The first one said, "No, that's not you. You'll hate it. You'll quit." The second one was quieter. It said, "What if you just try?" I had ignored that voice many times before, but this time I didn't. I took a breath and I said, "Okay, I'll try." The words felt strange as soon as they left my mouth. Almost unreal. I remember thinking, what did I just agree to? But Lily smiled even wider. That smile made the decision feel real. That small yes was the first step. The next day we met on the school field. There were about 15 students. Some stretched confidently. Others laughed as if this was the best part of their day. I stood quietly beside Lily, trying not to draw attention. The coach introduced himself. He spoke with energy, with confidence, everything I felt I lacked. "Let's warm up," he said. "Start jogging slowly." Slowly. That word gave me a small sense of comfort. But even at a slow pace, my body reacted immediately. After a few minutes, my breathing became heavy. My legs felt tight. I wanted to stop. I glanced at Lily. She noticed. "Just breathe," she said. "You're doing fine." I wasn't sure if that was true, but I kept moving. That first practice felt endless. Every step required effort. Every breath felt loud. When it finally ended, I was exhausted, embarrassed, and convinced I didn't belong there. That night I lay in bed, replaying the practice in my mind. I thought about how far behind I was, how easily others ran, how uncomfortable I had felt. Part of me wanted to quit immediately, to pretend it never happened. But another part of me felt something unfamiliar. Not pride, not confidence, just curiosity. I wondered what would happen if I went back again. The next practice wasn't easier. Neither was the one after that. My muscles hurt. My face turned red. I finished last almost every time. But something strange happened. I didn't quit. Each day I showed up. Not because I enjoyed it, but because I didn't want to disappoint Lily, and because a small part of me wanted to see how far I could go. That was when I realized something. Change doesn't always begin with passion. Sometimes it begins with commitment, with showing up even when you feel unsure. I didn't know it then, but that decision, that simple yes, was already changing me, quietly, slowly, from the inside. During the first few weeks, running felt like a test I was constantly failing. Every practice began with doubt. Every step reminded me how unprepared I was. I arrived at the field already tired, not from running, from overthinking. I compared myself to everyone else. How fast they moved, how easily they talked while jogging. I struggled just to keep breathing. Sometimes I wondered why I was doing this. I didn't enjoy the pain. I didn't enjoy finishing last. And I certainly didn't enjoy feeling weak. But for some reason, I kept showing up. At first, it was for Lily. She waited for me before each practice. She checked on me when I slowed down. She never pushed. She never judged. She just stayed beside me. That made it harder to quit. But slowly, my reason began to change. One afternoon, after another difficult run, I noticed something small. I wasn't as exhausted as I usually was. My legs still hurt. My breathing was still heavy. But I recovered faster. The feeling surprised me. I didn't say anything. I wasn't sure if it was real. The next practice, I noticed it again. I could run a little longer before needing to slow down. It wasn't much, but it was enough to make me curious. I began paying attention to small details, how my breathing became steadier, how my steps felt more balanced, how the field didn't feel as intimidating as it once had. I realized something important. Progress was happening quietly, not in big moments, not in dramatic changes, but in small, almost invisible improvements. One day, the coach walked beside me. He didn't shout, he didn't criticize. He simply said, "Julia, you're improving. Keep going." The words stayed with me. Not because they were loud, but because they were unexpected. Someone had noticed. Someone believed I was capable of more. That belief felt unfamiliar, but it felt good. From that day on, I began to take running a little more seriously. I still didn't love it, but I respected it. I showed up on time. I warmed up properly. I tried to listen to my body instead of fighting it. Outside of practice, something else changed. I began going to bed earlier. I drank more water. I ate better, not because I had to, but because my body asked for it. Without realizing it, running was shaping my routine, and my routine was shaping me. On weekends, when I would usually stay inside, I found myself going for short runs in the park, just 10 minutes. Sometimes 15. No pressure, no audience, just movement. The fresh air felt different, lighter, clearer. My thoughts slowed down. For the first time in a long while, my mind felt quiet. Running became more than exercise. It became space, space to think, space to breathe, space to be present. One morning while tying my shoes, a thought crossed my mind. I am not the same person I was a month ago. The realization felt strange, almost uncomfortable. Change had always scared me, but now I was living inside it. And it didn't feel dangerous. It felt empowering. At school, my energy was different. I paid attention more easily. I felt less tired. Even my mood changed. I smiled more. I laughed more. Small things didn't frustrate me as much as before. Friends noticed. Teachers noticed. They asked what had changed. I didn't have a clear answer. I just knew I felt better, stronger, more alive. But with progress came a new kind of fear. The fear of expectations. What if I stopped improving? What if this version of me didn't last? What if I disappointed myself? Those thoughts crept in quietly. Late at night, during difficult practices. Fear didn't disappear. It simply changed shape. But this time I didn't run away from it. I had learned something. Fear didn't mean I should stop. It meant I was growing, and growth was uncomfortable. One afternoon, after practice, the coach gathered us together. He spoke calmly. "In a few weeks," he said, "there will be a small local race. Nothing big, just a chance to test yourselves." My heart skipped. A race? The word brought back old fears, stages, eyes, judgment. I looked down, hoping he wouldn't expect anything from me. But then he asked, "Who wants to join?" For a moment, no one moved. Then slowly hands began to rise. I felt my chest tighten. I remembered the girl I used to be, the one who avoided attention, the one who stayed safe. And I remembered the girl I was becoming, the one who showed up, the one who kept going. Before I could overthink it, my hand lifted, not confidently, not high, but enough. Enough to say, "I'm here." That decision felt heavier than the first one, but it also felt right. I didn't know how the race would go. I didn't know if I was ready. But I knew one thing. I didn't want to step back into my old life. I wanted to see how far this new version of me could go. And that choice set the stage for everything that came next. As the day of the race approached, my emotions became complicated. Part of me felt proud that I had come this far, proud that I had not quit. But another part of me felt nervous. Not the light kind of nervous, the heavy kind. The kind that asks, what if you fail in front of everyone? I had never run in a race before. Training was familiar, safe. A race was different. There would be numbers, timers, people watching, and suddenly progress would be measured. That scared me. In the days before the race, my thoughts raced faster than my legs ever could. What if I finish last? What if I can't keep up? What if all this progress was just an illusion? Fear tried to convince me that I had made a mistake, that joining the race was going too far. At practice, I ran quietly, more carefully than usual, as if holding back would protect me. The coach noticed. After practice, he asked me to stay. He didn't lecture. He didn't criticize. He simply asked, "Are you scared?" The honesty of the question caught me off guard. I nodded. He smiled gently. "That means you care," he said, "and that's not a bad thing." Then he said something I will never forget. This race is not about winning. It's about seeing who you are when things feel uncomfortable. Those words settled something inside me. I realized I had been thinking about the race the wrong way. I wasn't there to prove anything to anyone else. I was there to meet myself. The night before the race, I barely slept. I laid awake, listening to my breathing, thinking about every practice, every moment I almost quit, every step that brought me here. I reminded myself why I started, not to be fast, not to be impressive, but to change. The morning air was cool and quiet. The race location felt unfamiliar, too open, too exposed. Runners stretched, talked, checked their shoes. I stood slightly apart, taking everything in. My heart beat fast. But beneath the fear, there was something new: determination. When the race began, everything happened quickly. The sound, the movement, the sudden surge forward. I ran. At first, I focused on my breathing, on keeping a steady pace, not too fast, not too slow. Runners passed me. I let them go. I reminded myself of my own journey. Halfway through, my legs began to feel heavy. Old doubts returned. You're not strong enough. You should slow down. This was a mistake. I recognized those voices. They were familiar. I had listened to them before, but this time I answered back. Keep going. Not loudly, not dramatically, just firmly, one step at a time. As the finish line came into view, my chest tightened. Not from exhaustion, from emotion. I realized something in that moment. No matter how I finished, I had already won, because I was still running. When I crossed the line, I slowed to a walk. My breathing was heavy, my legs shook, but my heart felt full. I didn't check my time. I didn't look for my place. I didn't need to. I looked around, at the people, at the sky, at the ground beneath my feet. I was there, fully present. And for the first time, I felt proud of my body, not for how it looked, but for what it had carried me through. Lily found me a few minutes later. She smiled. You did it, she said. I nodded. I did. That race did not make me a runner, but it made me someone who believes in change, someone who knows that growth does not come from comfort. It comes from showing up when fear is loud. That day, something shifted permanently. I stopped seeing myself as someone who avoids challenges. I began to see myself as someone who faces them, quietly, patiently, one step at a time. And that realization prepared me for the final lesson this journey still had to teach me. After the race, life slowly returned to its normal rhythm. School continued. Homework piled up. Days passed, but something inside me had changed. Not loudly, not dramatically, quietly. I noticed it in small moments. The way I stood straighter, the way I spoke with less hesitation, the way I trusted myself a little more each day. Running was no longer just an activity. It had become a reminder of what happens when you say yes to discomfort, when you show up even when fear whispers that you should stay home. I continued running, not every day, not perfectly. Some days were easy, others were not. Some runs felt light, others felt heavy. But I kept going, because I had learned that consistency is more powerful than motivation. Motivation fades, commitment remains. Over time, running began to influence other areas of my life. In class, I raised my hand more often. My voice still shook sometimes, but I spoke anyway. I shared ideas. I asked questions. I allowed myself to be seen. And nothing terrible happened. People listened. Sometimes they disagreed, and that was okay. I realized that being visible does not mean being perfect. It means being present. The fear of judgment did not disappear, but it no longer controlled me. I had proof now. Proof that I could survive uncomfortable moments. Proof that growth was possible. Looking back, I understand something I couldn't see before. The hardest part was never the running. It was the decision to begin. That small moment when I chose not to stay inside my comfort zone. That moment is available to all of us, every day. It doesn't look impressive. It doesn't feel heroic. It often feels uncertain, awkward, scary, but it matters. If you are listening to this and you feel stuck, unmotivated, or unsure of yourself, I want you to know this. You don't need a perfect plan. You don't need to feel confident first. You don't need to become someone else. You only need to take one small step, one decision that moves you slightly out of your comfort zone. It could be joining a club, speaking up in class, starting a habit, trying something new. It doesn't have to be running. It just has to be yours. Fear will still be there. That doesn't mean you are doing something wrong. It means you are standing at the edge of growth. The version of you who stays safe will always be available. But so will the version of you who grows. The choice is often quiet, and no one else can make it for you. Today, I am still learning, still growing, still facing moments that make me uncomfortable. But now, I trust myself. I trust that even if I struggle, even if I fail, I will keep going. And that trust has changed everything. If this story resonated with you, carry it with you. The next time you hesitate, the next time fear asks you to stop, remember this. Confidence does not come before action. It grows because of action, quietly, patiently, one brave decision at a time. Thank you for listening, and thank you for taking this moment for yourself.
And now, as this story comes to an end, I hope you take a quiet moment to reflect. Not on how fast you should move or how far you still need to go, but on the small step you could take next. Growth rarely arrives with confidence. It often begins with uncertainty, with discomfort, with a choice that feels too small to matter. If this story stayed with you, let it remind you of this: you don't need to change everything today. You only need one honest step. If you found something meaningful here, take a moment to like this video and subscribe for more calm English stories about growth, courage, and becoming. And thank you for choosing to keep going.